Get my sticks ready to spin.
Yeah, you gotta spin it out, man. Spin it out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drummer's Education Connection. I just did a foot and a snare drum thing there off the top of my head because I had to push a button and grab some sticks, and it was pure mayhem. I don't know how I did it. Anyway, welcome to. How do you do that? You gotta have coordination.
You just don't think about it.
Don't think about it. You do it. Anyway, welcome to Drummer's Education Connection. I'm Bart Robley, and I am here with two of my great friends and fellow deckheads in Tucson, Arizona. We got Chip Ritter. What's happening, Chip? And up in Boise, Idaho, Fred Rock Fisher.
There's my parade wave.
There's your parade wave. You got it. You're from Boise, Idaho. Fred eats nothing but potatoes. And
yes.
I am Bart Robley, and you are on Drummer's Education Connection. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a great show today. Yesterday, when I was doing some show prep and getting ready for it and stuff, I thought, hey, you know what? We need to do a show. Fred's going to be our guest host this week on making the best of a bad gig, right? And because we've all had them. And if you're a young drummer and you haven't had a bad gig, you're going to have a bad gig. It's going to happen, man. And so you want to learn from this. So it's going to be a fun show. But as usual, before we get started, I would like to do a little bit of housekeeping work here. And so what we want to do is invite everybody, if you watch the show regularly and you want to help us out, you can contribute to the show via Patreon. And Patreon is a great platform that you can come and help us out, keep the lights on, help pay for websites and all that sort of fun stuff. So that's what Patreon does. And then we want to do our good things. Good things is a fantastic way that we each get to talk about stuff that's going on in our lives, in drumming, outside of drumming, whatever. And it just kind of helps us talk about what we're doing, and we got good things going on other than drumming sometimes. So let's start with our guest host, Fred. What is happening for your good thing? What's going on right now, bud?
Good things. Well, there's all kinds of things. I was trying to think of something non-musical, but everything in my life is musical. So
yep, that's the way it goes.
I'm hitting the road for about the next 5 days with Cliff Miller Music, which is the country rock band that I'm part of. So going to do a little week run out with him starting tomorrow, which is always awesome. I love doing the shows, of course, but the hang, like the travel and the hang and the stories and all of that, that's probably my favorite part of that. Is just getting to know each other better. I've been playing with Cliff for 10 plus years, and you still find out stuff about your bandmates.
right.
Through all the hang. But and then my Bad Midline's getting ready to release Mailman, our cover of that song by Soundgarden. Video's ready to go. There's a couple loose ends still with licensing when you're covering somebody else's material. So we're tying up those, but it's coming out soon. I thought it was going to be out next week, but now it might be pushed out a month. So those are my good things.
You said that last week that it was going to be out. It was going to be out this coming week. I remember.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And so that's been delayed. We got to fill out a couple more forms.
The paperwork. Chip, what about you, buddy? What good things do you got going on, my man?
Well, man, I got my Drummer's Guide to Juggling is on my website and selling pretty good. I'm doing all right with that. And then I have on my Google Business, it's Drum Lessons with Chip Ritter on Google Business. I've got about 35 5-star reviews, man. Nothing less than 5 stars. I'm stoked about that. That's worked really well for me. Shout out to Rick Stojak for helping me get that going, and along with my Yelp page, you know what I mean? So I'm doing really good, man, teaching and having a ball. How about you, Bart?
Just doing the SMB thing. We've got we had last weekend off, which is rare, and this weekend off, but it was a very you know, it was a God thing, if you want to put it that way, because poor Sam, man, he got sick on, we played in Wisconsin, and he came home in the last 2 gigs that we did over 4th of July weekend, man. He was just hurt. We had to really pull out all the stops to get through the gig because of his throat. So the guys went up to bat and sang for him and lifted him up. He was hurting for sure. But so having a couple weeks off is great. We went in, I guess, Sunday last week, had a rehearsal, got a new song coming out. And so we rehearsed that up, we're getting ready to record that. And then I got good news and bad news here, Chip. I got to talk to you about this. So here's the thing.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here's the thing. The good thing here is that I just made a gigantic batch of salsa, of my fresh salsa, right? And right now, as we speak, it is in the kitchen and it's boiling and sealing so that I can ship some of these jars of salsa. Unfortunately, today I'm wearing my old Under Armour hat. I was hoping to be wearing a new Fred Rock Fisher hat, but I don't have one, Chip. I don't know what to do about this. What should I do?
I don't know, man. Maybe if only there was somebody we knew
that could get me a new hat. This hat is funky, and I'm not talking like James Brown. Ow, funky. I'm talking, it's funky. It smells funky, like Bart's Take a Shower funky. I need a new hat, man. I don't know what to do.
I need one too.
Maybe I could trade one of those jars of salsa for a hat.
I don't know. You might be
The hats are on the way, guys. The hats are on the way.
Come on, man.
Mailed them on Monday.
You've been the guest host 3 times now. I had to give you a hard time. I'm looking forward to getting my new hat, and I am going to send you some salsa. So that's my good thing. Got a new batch of salsa going. My salsa's going great, and I'm having mostly drummers. I can't figure that out. Stephen Osborne is watching, and he's interested in today's show for a very specific reason. He'll hear about it in a minute. The salsa's going good. Most of my drummer friends like, dude, I gotta have your salsa. So I made a batch. I'm gonna be shipping it out here pretty soon. So
nice.
Anyhow, so today's topic was, when getting ready for it again, it was making the best of a bad gig. And here on deck, that's what we're all about, is trying to help young drummers, and young players, avoid pitfalls that you're going to fall into. Now, unfortunately, there are times where there's going to be a pitfall that you don't see, and you're just going to fall into it. And that comes a lot of times in the form of a bad gig. And the gig may not be bad because it's a bad setup or a bad lighting system or anything, or a bad stage or a bad environment. It's just things aren't going right. It's a bad day at work. And how do you overcome that, number one? And then number two, how do you make the best of it? How do you make the absolute best when you're sitting there just dying in front of an audience going, okay, how do I make this work? And I know we all have those stories, and I hope everybody can learn from these. So I'm going to, again, like I did a minute ago, I'm going to throw it to Fred. Fred, I know you've had a bad gig. I want to hear from you first. Give us a gig that was bad, and how did you get through it?
Well, I mean, I've had many over the years, and I will say before sharing like specific stories, is being older and wiser is recognizing what's in my control and what's out of my control.
There you go.
Because that's going to determine how I react to those situations. And also it's just remembering to be professional all the time in how we present ourselves. The talent buyer or whoever hired the band may be watching what's happening, and that could, whatever the situation, play a role in, are they going to have your band back again because of what's going on?
Right.
And just how you conduct yourself, how you speak, the language that you use, and the audience is going to maybe witness to what's happening as well, and just staying pro all the time can really help keep those knee-jerk reactions from happening.
Yeah.
Because I think our human nature might be to just suddenly react to something that you don't like and to be ugly back at that situation or whatever, or you know, maybe you're throwing a tantrum, which I've done when I was younger. But I think just being aware of your surroundings and who may be watching and what kind of influence is that going to have on somebody. Uh, you know, and this might go back to a little like last week's show. The trickle down effect is, you know, I started taking drum lessons because I saw a drummer that I was impressed with. So we talked to him after the show. I have students that have started taking lessons from me because they saw me at a show or they saw a video of of something happening. So if they go and see you perform and something's going wrong, and then they see you being a jerk, you know, that's damaging to your reputation and your brand. And
Yeah.
I just personally don't want anything to do with that. So I think if there's a situation that's happening and it can be addressed later behind closed doors, I think that's definitely the best approach for sure.
That can be difficult too, because I've found myself in situations where I've had the knee jerk reaction, and then it's not thought out. You become a snapdragon, and then the next thing you know, you end up you lower yourself to the other person or to the situation, whatever the situation may be, and then you're a jerk. Chip, what about you? Chime in on this. What do you think?
Oh man, it's all relative of what you consider bad.
That's true.
There could be situations within the band where you're having trouble relating to one of the musicians. There could be a situation with the venue where I was on tour with Long John Hunter in Texas, in Austin, Texas, and we played at this bar when we were doing our thing on our second set. In the middle of the second set, during the guitar solo, a harmonica came over the PA, and it was in the wrong key. And somebody was just jamming on the harmonica over the PA. And we looked over towards the bar, and it was the bartender with a microphone and a harmonica just going off. And it was like this horrible, horrible circumstance. And it was like, you know what can you, like Fred said, what can you control and what can't you control? And it was like, we could do nothing about it, but just keep playing and act like that's what we had in mind. And you know what I mean? And after gig, we had a talk with them and stuff. And they were just like, how'd you like our harp tender? Get it? Harp tender? And we were like, yeah, we get it. We get it. Can we have our money?
Yeah.
Some of the bad gigs, you just got to roll with the punches and stay professional, like Fred said. You know what I mean? You got to keep going and act as if everything is cool.
Yeah.
As a person who has been not in that exact situation, to anybody out there that's a harp player, and there's the guys that have the bandoleros of harps and the gun belts of the harps, and then there's the guys that have the cases with the harps and all the correct keys and stuff. Nobody likes you guys. I'm sorry. I'm.
Well, a little side note, like what?
If the harp player like asks to get on stage and set in, Sam's really diplomatic, and he'll every once in a while, if it's somebody we know, he'll let him come up and play. But then usually, if you say no, we don't do that, or we're doing a specific show tonight, or whatever, they just stand in front of the stage and still play with you. And don't do that, please. Don't do that. Don't do that, and don't clap on 1 and 3. Don't do those things, please. Yeah. Anyway, that's a side note. Chip, I'm sorry you had to go through it. What were you going to say, Fred? What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say as a side note, that's what has perfect pitch? The sound of a harmonica hitting a dumpster.
Yeah.
You call a harp player with a business card.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. We're rolling over harp players. Right?
The difference between a dead snake in the middle of the road and a dead harmonica player in the middle of the road.
What?
The snake was on his way to a gig.
What happened to the show? It's we went over to the
No,
left.
but okay, but back to the topic. It's a
Back to
bad
the
gig,
topic.
right?
It's a
You're in
bad
a
gig.
situation. You're in a situation that you can't control, and the best thing you can do is smile and keep going with it. I've had gigs where we get up on stage, everything's set up, and I start playing, and from the first song, the hi-hat's got some kind of fault in the floor below it, so it's moving all over the place, and I can
Yeah.
barely play and struggle through that situation. It's like, well, stop using my foot, try to keep the hi-hat as still as I can, and keep going and muscle through the gig. Sometimes
Right.
that's the only option you have is to keep going.
Yeah.
I had a incident recently, just this year. We were playing a gig, and we get there, and they just set up the drum riser, and it wasn't really high, thank God. It was maybe a 2-foot riser, and it was put together, and the guys were talking about it. Oh yeah, it's fine, it's all locked in and everything. And I never think about this because it's never happened, right? And I'm setting up the drums, and we're putting everything together. And the kit that I have is this kick drum is part of it. It's a Champagne Gretsch, and this kit has been on the road with me for years. But it's also been in flight cases, and I mean it gets used, but it's in great shape. It's a beautiful kit. And I get all the drums set up. I hadn't put the cymbals up yet. Stands are in place, and I've got my in-ear monitors. I'm over here messing. I'm standing on the riser, and the riser goes. Everything falls in. Oh, dude. And, everybody's like, are you okay? And I hurt my leg a little bit. But I was like, I didn't, whatever. Yeah, I'm fine. Then the drums are just and the guys are just standing. Oh, well, that's weird. It's never happened before, And I'm like, and there's a big old gouge on the side of the floor tom, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I wanted to hit the roof so bad. And I was just like, okay, it's okay. It's all right. And we got all the drums off, and they fixed it. And I did say, I was like, maybe we should not use the riser. Maybe we should just not use it tonight. Maybe we can just, I'll set up on the floor. I don't need a riser. Oh man, I'm so sorry. It's never happened before. It won't happen again. Okay. So, that knee-jerk reaction where you want to be a snapdragon and what the hell, and you look at my
restraint of tongue and pen pays off handsomely.
Yeah. And it's hard, it's really hard because you want to, guys, how, I'm here doing my job. Could you please make sure that the drum riser doesn't collapse, So, but that happens. Okay, Fred, give us a story. I've got a story for you that my friend Stephen Osborne, who I know is watching on YouTube, he's waiting to hear this story because he was running sound at this show, and it was fun. So anyway, let's hear your story, Fred. Give us a story, baby.
Okay, I got a good one. Well, so we're talking about having a bad gig. So you can have equipment failure. Maybe you just can't play very well for whatever reason. We have
that day at the office.
It's like playing with oven mitts on. It's just like I've never seen these before. What are they? It's like what's going on?
Sushi.
Exactly. So some of my experiences have been like personnel, like getting in an argument with a band member or something, or things of that nature. One deal, my band Midline, we were playing a big festival show. We were headlining, and on a big deck, and the whole 9 yards. I was having a great gig myself. I did not know my singer Anthony was having a bad gig. I was completely unaware. But apparently some group of kids in the crowd were giving him a hard time, mocking him and flipping him off or whatever. And totally unbeknownst to me, that was happening. I was just enjoying, I try to be aware of what's happening with everybody in the band, but I didn't know. And we had built into our show an encore. So the last song that we would be playing for the encore is a song called Don't Belong. And I had taken this old black trench coat and I put a gazillion white Christmas lights in it. And so during Don't Belong, he would put this coat on and come out, and then in the chorus, when he would put his arms out, it would light up. And then we had like a 50-foot extension cord, and one of our tech guys would flip the switch on the power strip to turn it on and off. It was really high tech, guys, very high tech.
Nice.
So we get done and we go off stage and we go back behind stage to the tent before we go back out for the encore. I'm all smiling. I'm having a good gig. And Anthony turns to me and he's yelling at me. He's like, I am not putting the coat on. And I said, yes, you are. He said, no, I'm not. And I said, yes, you are. And this went back and forth. But there were a lot of other words said. And he got so mad at me, and I got so mad at him. And he took this bottle of water and hucked it at my head. And so the whole production crew was watching this unfold behind the stage.
Right.
And I said, you're putting the coat on. And he's like, no, I'm not. And then we had to get back up there. So as I'm getting ready to go back up the stairs on stage, I was like, you put the coat on. So I get back up and we start the song, and Anthony's off the side of the stage, and I could see him at the bottom of the ramp. He's got the coat on, and he's looking at me, and I mouthed right to him. I go, and he mouthed back to me, I love you too. And he came back up on stage with the coat on, and when it lit up, the crowd just went crazy for this moment. And it turned out being a good thing. Now, it's funny to tell that story now, but in hindsight, I feel that I should have recognized that he was having a really bad gig, and he was in a frame of mind that if he went back out already with these couple of kids mocking him, that would even be worse.
Yeah.
And so I feel I should have recognized that situation better and said, that's totally cool, dude. Let's just do the song, forget the coat. Let's just go out and do our thing, and then we're done. I should have reacted that way. Instead, we had this ongoing argument, this display of frustration and words said and things being thrown at each other, and this tense moment. And that was kind of that knee-jerk reaction thing that I was talking about, is that happened. And I felt guilty, like I really should have just recognized, hey, my singer's having a bad gig. I should support him in what's going on with him, mentally, and supported that. Instead, I forced my will upon him. Luckily, it worked out. Now, hadn't it not worked out, then I probably even feel more awful. But
yeah,
it's just recognizing what's going on within the working of the band, and then being able to navigate that better. And so, this has been a long time ago now that that's happened. So, but I chalk that up to those learning experiences, and now being more aware of, my bandmates and what they may or may not be going through, and the trouble they may or may not be in, and just being sympathetic to that first and foremost. Like, how can I help this situation rather than forcing my will on something, if that makes sense.
Right. And that's, it has to be a team effort. That's what I'm saying this weekend. I was so impressed last weekend with the guys. Carl and Walt and David, the piano player, sax player, and guitar player, are all really fantastic singers. And Sam gives them all a song. And we got there, and Sam was just, the poor guy was just gargling razor blades. You could just tell he was hurting. And so Sam threw a song to Walt that he normally does. He threw one to David that he normally does. We're extending the solos. turns to me, play a drum solo. I played a drum solo. And I just kept going, you know, I was like trying to give him as much time as I could before he had to get back up. And then Carl sang his song, and then Sam throws Carl another song that he normally sings. And it was so impressive. I mean, Carl's a great singer in the first place, but just to get up there and sell a song that I'd never heard him sing before. And he had, he had heard it a million times, but to the best of my knowledge, he had never sang this tune. And he just nailed it, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about lifting each other up, you know, and sometimes we don't know like you said, Fred, your singer's having a bad day, having a bad gig. He's inside his head.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You haven't communicated that. You're in the middle of the show. Hey, Chip, what did David Betts say? He said something. Let's put that up for everybody.
David Betts says, true story. I turned up to do a gig at an Army camp a few years ago. Long story short, the quote-unquote stage was thrown together last minute through a combination of crash mats and gaffing tape. The gig didn't rock so much as bounce. Thanks for watching, David. We love you, man.
Thanks, David. You're the best, bro. The drum riser at the House of Blues in Hollywood. You guys ever play there? Either one of them?
I haven't not.
Dude, it's not there anymore, but it was like sitting on a trampoline playing the drums. Man, the whole time you're playing is doing this. I got a story about that one. I'll come back to it. But okay, I got to tell my story because my friend Steven, sound guy out in Arizona, is joining in. We called this gig, it has been gone down in Sam Morrison Band history as Bugpalooza.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're playing. We're getting ready to play. We do sound check, and it's an outdoor gig. It's in Arizona, so it's like a bazillion degrees. And it was the stage is in this particular venue is backed up to a lake. Okay, so it's really hot, but there's a lake right behind you. So even though it's Arizona, it's pretty humid, and it's by a golf course. So there's all the, you know, the shrubbery and different vegetation growing out around this lake, and so it draws a lot of dragonflies and bugs and gnats and stuff in there, eating the critters in the lake. Right? We're not paying any attention to it. We're doing sound check, load in. We go in, we have our meal, get our stage clothes on. It's like, okay, that's going to be a hot one, hour and a half set. Let's get through it, get home. Okay, no problem. Load into this particular gig and load out. It's pretty rough. We're all tired. We walk out there, big crowd. It's a nice crowd. They're looking forward to seeing us. We're getting ready to play. And the guy goes and he announces a show. And as he announces a show, he walks up and he's like, okay, you know, yeah, oh yeah, and Stephen put up there, and it had rained for 2 days, so it's very humid, right? It's very humid. So the guy goes, okay, guys, you know, Sam Morrison Band's here. They're going to get ready to play for you guys. Crowd's cheering, you know, they're going to do a show, blah, it's going to be great. Hey, talk to the person next to you if you don't know and make friends with them, because maybe they bought some bug spray with them, and you can borrow some of their bug spray. And we all kind of look at each other and, bugs? What are you talking about? No bugs around here. Hope there's not some flies. And so then we get up on the stage and we start into the first song, and boom, they turn on the lights and we start playing, and I'm just up there rocking. All the guys in the band, one by one, just kind of turn around and look at the drum riser, and everybody does this. They look at me and they all go, what? What? And then I look up and there's this arch over me that has lights on it. And guys, there is no exaggeration here. It looked like the book of Revelation. There were bugs and gnats. I mean, they were, oh my God, there was a billion of them. And they swarm and they just start eating us alive. Well, my drum set it's alive. And I'm getting bit. And about 3 songs in, I'm like, okay, play with your mouth closed. Thank God I don't have this thing, right? So I'm playing with my mouth closed, and this bug crawls up on my mustache, and he gets right about here. And I snorted bug that was like the size of this computer mouse, and it went up. I don't know if I dropped a stick, but oh my God, it was horrible. The taste and this thing going up my nose and then it crawling down my throat. It was horrible. And I've spit the thing out, and the guys are looking at me like, what just happened? I'm like, I'll tell you after the show. But I didn't tank the song, but we were going over a cliff. I pull it back together. And well, now, and this is 3 songs into the set. So I've got, you did drop a stick, Steve says. I did drop a stick. So I get back and I'm playing. Well, now I'm making a game of it. Okay. Cause I can't do anything else. I can't go anywhere. No matter what I do, I can't swat them off of me. And I'm not kidding, guys. There's praying mantises crawling up my stuff. It was horrible. So I'm like, okay. So, bam, got him. Bam, got him. All over the place. It was horrible. Wow. It was so bad. And so after the gig, everybody was like, oh, everybody's like, it was so bad. It was awful. It was awful. And everybody's like, what happened during, such and such a song? I'm like, I swear, guys, I snorted a bug. It crawled up here and it went up my nose. It was horrible. It was awful. So that gig has gone down as Bugpalooza. And every time and Steve is probably one of the best sound guys in the business. He works for this entertainment company that hired us for that show. And it's whenever we run into him, we know it's going to be a good gig. The sound's going to be great. It's all hugs and how are you, buddy? Great guy. And he's just this big, lovable teddy bear dude. And every time we see each other, he's like, hey, man, let's hope for no bugs tonight. You snort any bugs? He always remember as Bugpalooza. So that's probably one of those things that Spinal Tap wishes they would have thought of, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it happened, and so yeah, that's a horror story. So I guess bring bug spray. Bring bug spray.
Well, yeah. My friend Jeff Mann, a student and friend of mine, Jeff Mann, used to tour and be a roadie for Megadeth and Kiss. And in Texas, Megadeth had a show in an outdoor show in Texas, and there were bugs all over the place. So Nick Menza, the drummer, asked Jeff to get some bug spray and spray it around the kit. And at the time, he had one of those clear Tama drum sets, which was just clear. I forget what it's made out of.
The acrylic stuff.
It's just like the Ludwig, acrylic drum set. And so he's spraying all this off and everything. And halfway through the show, the drums started melting. So everywhere he sprayed off around the drum set, there was this grimy melting plastic going on. And it's just a drum set.
That sucks. That breaks my heart. That is a rough gig. Not only did you have to deal with the bugs. See, I just snorted the bugs. It didn't destroy my drum set.
Yeah, right.
And then I had to clean the drum set and wipe the bugs off. Oh, David Betts said, congratulations. Today is our 170th episode. So
yeah.
Thank you for that, David. Hey, on that note, you know what I'm going to do is we're going to do a quick commercial for our sponsor.
Let's do the commercial.
Yeah, let's do our commercial for Centerstream Publishing. Centerstream Publishing has backed our play for quite some time now. Look at that guy. Who the heck? That is the ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life. Look at her, that poor thing. This is a piece here that is ASAP Drum Rudiments Plus. It's a piece that I put together for Centerstream. Ron Millbrook. It's endorsed by Fred Rockfisher.
That's right, Fred. Buddy.
It's a piece that I was asked to do. And so I just kind of put it together for him, and it's been doing really well. That's kind of a plug for Centerstream and myself. So thank you guys so much. If you want that, if you want to buy one of those, they're $5. And you too, show them the dartboard again there, Fred. Show them the dartboard, the blue dartboard. You get a Bart Robley dartboard with it. Turn around and show them what's on the other side, would you? Come on. It's got some cool rudiment stuff. So if you go to my website, you're going to get, and you buy that. It's $5. I throw in this cool paradiddle thing that I've been teaching for years, and it's a lot of fun. But Centerstream also does stuff for every instrument. So if you're a drummer, you're a bass player, guitar player, if you're a harp player, God bless you. They got harp books. You can buy everything that Centerstream Publishing has. They're fantastic. They back our play, and they are wonderful. They're great. So check them out. Okay, so back to the horror story. So that was my horror story, and it's kind of, they don't have to be horror stories. It could be bad gig stories. We have a few more. Chip, give us another one of your bad gig stories where maybe.
Well, I toured. I was on a world tour with Long John Hunter, and we were in Mexico City. And the day before, I got Montezuma's Revenge, and I was sick, and I went to the hospital. The day after that was our big show in the city square, in the town square, and there were cameramen with TV cameras running around, and the big production and the lights and the backdrop and everything, and the drum riser. And I'm on stage, and I'm so sick. One of the tech guys brought me a bucket, and while we were playing the show, I was just ralphing into this bucket off to the side while playing the whole show. And I made it through the whole show. I played great, but I was sick and puking the whole time. And I just remember that being one of the worst gigs I've ever done.
Oh, man.
If you watch, there's a YouTube video of Steve Vai telling a story of how sick he was about 4 days into his first tour with Frank Zappa. And it's much like your story. And so go watch that. Okay. Go watch that, and also to anybody else out there, go watch those types of things, because again, his was more about just being a rock star too hard the night before and having to get up and play, and that happens too, and and so it's learn what not to do. Fred, give us another one, man. Come on, let's hear another one.
Well, I've had a drum riser break as you have, and that's a showstopper. I think I told you on an episode or two ago that I used to have my cymbals ridiculously high, and I used to leap up and kick them, and my shoelace got stuck on the wing nut. That was a showstopper. I've played
I'd kind of like to see that. I'd like to.
Yeah, you got to be pretty limber.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the shape I am now when that happened, but
now that you work out.
Yeah. So I've played a couple floor gigs where I've had I see them coming from across the room, and they're going like this, and they're getting closer, and they're leaning further over and just come crashing into me right through the drum set. That's a showstopper. But like I said when we first started, is sometimes things happen that are out of your control, and you might be thinking, I don't want to play this type of gig again, which I think it's fine to feel that way.
Right.
Don't announce that to everybody around in the moment that that's happening. Like, wait till after, and you have a moment to really assess the situation, from a bystander point of view, and then have that discussion with your band, saying, hey, do we belong in this situation or not, and take it from there, rather than, I've been around the tantrum throwing thing before. I've been a part of causing the tantrum, and nothing ever good comes of that.
Yeah.
So it's just being able to regroup as a band after and say, hey, are there pros and cons to doing this? And do we want to do this kind of an event again or not, rather than trying to cause somebody to feel bad. For example, whoever's booking the gig, there's a lot of work involved with that, because I've booked plenty of shows, and when I'm working with somebody and they're booking the shows, there's a lot going on to that. And I think sometimes people take that for granted, other people in the band, and navigating and negotiating what you're going to be paid and where you're playing and who's providing what. And you guys are well aware of all the stuff that goes into those, accommodations and are they feeding you or not, all, like, there's so many things to look at. And then when something goes wrong, to look at the person that put that together and start complaining, that's a pretty ungrateful position to be in. And I just don't think that's very professional. I mean, if you feel that way, then pull that person aside later and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this. And, is there a solution in there somewhere? I think that's a really good approach to have.
I've been involved with, I've been on both sides of it, because like you said, I've been the person, involved in the temper tantrum and just being a jerk. We've all done it, and then you look back on it afterwards and you're like,
Yeah.
why do I act like that? Why is it that I act like, I'm in the third grade and, I'm a grown man? That's so, yeah, I don't. And at times, like in your case with the jacket thing, Fred, the crowd screaming, you just got off stage, you had played a good gig, your singer had a bad gig, you had no idea, you're in the heat of the moment, you're putting the jacket on,
Yeah.
No, I'm putting on the jacket, you and you guys are going back and forth, and the crowd's not, I get it, I totally get it. So biting your tongue sometimes, it's so hard, it's hard, and not, and coming back to center in the heat of the moment is a tough thing, but it is doable. And believe me, when I'm saying this to anybody listening, I'm talking to myself too, because, been there, done that. And then I've been on the other end of it where I had done a lot of work and provided and spent an enormous amount of money to give something positive to a band, and have it be treated with like zero regard, like not even a, hey, thanks, buddy. It was just like, it was expected. And you're like, wait a second here, and so, I think just kind of having that monicum of respect for yourself and for the people that you work with, it has to go both ways. And there's sub stories that can happen in situations like that, and so just looking at the big picture instead of the one tree, looking at the forest, if you will.
Yeah, I was with my blues band, and at the time I was creating the website and designing it and updating it, and I'd work for 8 hours on that thing, and then go to the gig that night, and then the trumpet player would come up and be like, "Hey, you spelled this wrong," and I'd be like, "Man, well, come over and fix it. Spend some of your time off and work on the band in your off time," because I was pouring my time and energy into this band. And I come to the gig, like, I got us set up on mp3.com, and I got our music sold. We sold like 4 CDs, and we made like $40. And I brought the check in to the band while the bass player was tuning up. He looked over and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's enough gas to get to Phoenix." Whatever. And I was just like, all that effort, and is it worth it to make this affect this gig? Is it really worth it? And in the long run, what's it really going to matter? Do I want to do this gig or not? You know what I mean? And if I do want to do the gig, I might as well put on a positive attitude and focus on something positive, like
Yeah.
the people that have come out to see me play.
Yeah.
Right.
It's unfortunate that they didn't go, Chip, that's amazing. You put this website together. It looks so good. Thank you so much for all that effort and work and dealing with that.
Yeah,
You know, there was doesn't sound like that was happening. They just took that for
wasn't
granted
happening,
and
no.
wanted to point out a misspelled word or something.
Yeah. That's
So I talked with Cliff Miller, the country guy I play with, and then Anthony, my singer from Midline, because I told him I was going to do this show and what we were kind of talking about. And so I think with both those bands I play with, having a really great relationship with your band members and really clear communication and an appreciation for what everybody does in the band. I think having those kind of relationships really, really are key to when something does go wrong, that everybody will have some kind of self-awareness about what the situation is so that they can navigate that better. So I told Cliff, I said,
yeah.
I said, we have an FU relationship, meaning that, and I told that to Anthony too. I said, we have an FU relationship. And that just means that we know each other so well that we can talk to each other in ways that doesn't end in hard feelings or leaving the band or making the band break up or something. It's that we can have communication about really great things, and we can have communication about things that are really bothering us or under our skin or something like that, to where we can go, hey man, I don't think that's cool. Let's not do that, you know, and we can voice our opinions towards each other without things crumbling apart. And so that's that FU relationship.
Well,
that
and
we have.
that's awesome.
A band is a relationship, and any relationship, the key to any good relationship is, like you said, clear communication.
Yeah.
Being able to speak where you are and where you're at, and being able to talk about it, and not necessarily at the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Away from the performance situation where you're free to talk and you're not constrained by time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that both of you guys said the key word and the magic word, and that is communication. Because not only does it make for a bad gig, but you know, when anything is festering and like a resentment's being built, you know, I would rather have somebody get in my face and say F you to me, and we go back and share words and have a few heated moments, than to build a resentment because you weren't man enough to come say something that I pissed you off. Because I'm not going to sit here and play innocent and go, oh, I'm the easiest guy in the world to work with. Hey, I would never work with me. Okay. But in the words of Steven Tyler, but I think you need to, have those kind of, you know, moments. Because when the gig does go wrong, you know, when the person in the front row is messing with the singer, and then you guys have a heated debate, not blowing the band up, or you know, something happens and it's so trivial. I mean, hey, for some reason Aerosmith's popping in my head. I mean, that's why Aerosmith broke up the first time, was because literally one of the band members' wives spilled milk on the other band member's wife. They were making a coffee and spilt milk, and then this big explosion happened and the band breaks up, you know. And Stephen or Joe Perry's like, it's how ironic is it that one of the biggest bands in the world broke up over spilt milk, you know. But it's true. So I got a bad gig I've got a ton of gig stories, but I'll tell you this one because this one's funny too. And then not kind of blowing up at something like this, or going, you know, seeing the humor in it is kind of what you had to do. Sometimes if you're not even a young musician, I mean, you're a seasoned player, sometimes you're going to get hired to do a gig in a place where they shouldn't even have a band, right? There shouldn't be a band here. I mean, why are you having a band? Bands are loud. Okay. Yeah. We're a band. We make noise. maybe you should have brought a radio.
Yeah.
We got hired one time. This was a million years ago to play an exhibit in an art gallery. Okay. The theme was Americana. Okay. So we want you guys to come in and play your music because we see that as Americana style music. Okay, perfect. No problem. And we knew it was a small space and we knew we were going to have to play quiet. So I brought all the right tools. I brought the dry sounding cymbals. I brought the small drums, brought some hot rods. And when I play quiet gigs, I use Peter Erskine sticks because they're the size of a 7A diameter, but they're longer like a 5A, maybe a little bit longer than a 5A. So they have they don't feel short like a 7A, but the grip is nice on them. Had a bunch of hot rods, had some brushes, had everything. And so we thought, well, let's go in and get set up. We go in, let's do our sound check, and let's do it as quiet as we can. The guys brought little amps, and this is before everybody was going direct. And we started into the first song for sound check, and we were being so quiet. I mean, just quiet. And the art exhibit guy comes running around the corner. You guys are going to play quieter than that. And we literally I don't think we can. So we're like, okay, everybody turn it down. And so then, I get out some brushes, okay? But no kidding, guys. I mean, no joke. So I'm like, guy comes in, okay, that's better, but if you can, even more, that would be great. So we're playing as quiet as we can. They open the doors, the people are coming in. Well, there's this part where we're playing and there's all this art on the walls behind us. And the guitar player's standing there playing his guitar. And on the wall behind him is a piece of art. And this man walks right up to the guitar player, like he's right here. And he looks at him, and then he looks past him at a piece of art. He's looking like the guitar. He's looking past the guitar player at the art. And it was so, again, it was one of those moments where Spinal Tap was going, oh, why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
And you will find yourself in those situations, and if you don't find the humor in that, right? If you're sitting there and you're going to yourself, I am so above this. I am so much better of a musician than this. Why are you not paying attention to me? And your ego gets in the way. Man, you're done. You are so done in this business because that is going to happen. It is.
Yeah, and to that point, it's I would be willing to bet that nobody in your band really knew what that situation was going to be, being initially hired to do that. Right. But then you're in it, and you have this commitment and more than likely a contract to do that show.
Yeah.
And so you guys have to follow through what you committed to on your end to the best of your abilities, regardless of how horrible it may seem in that moment. And then you could decide later, playing art galleries isn't a thing for us.
That's pretty much the way it went.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful part about it was that, like right here, it's kind of like the Bugpalooza story. In the moment that bug went up my nose, two things happened. I was mortified. This is horrible. This is the worst thing in the world. I can't believe that it hurt. It smelled bad. It tasted bad. Everything was bad. Why did this happen to me? And then the very other thing is like, man, this story is going to last for years.
Yeah.
Just like the art gallery story. So you got to kind of find that humor in there too, I think.
Another way to make the best out of a bad gig is to remember that it's just that one gig. Eventually it's going to be over.
Yep.
You'll be able to recover, smile, and keep playing. You know what I mean? And just get through it.
Yeah.
Be a professional.
Yeah. You don't throw a temper tantrum. Go ahead, Fred. Sorry.
Well, I'm just agreeing with Chip. That's something that's completely out of your control. And, you're just going to follow through. You're going to be a pro. You're going to deal with it. And and then you're going to get paid, and then you're on to the next concert, and you go do your thing. And I was thinking about Chip talking about the bartender playing the harmonica. I don't know if he was an owner or if he was obviously somebody they were working and felt it was his place to to join in for whatever reason that was unexpected, and you guys appeased him for that moment and probably made his day, but probably didn't make the band look so great for that moment or whatever. But you guys didn't go and meet him in the parking lot later and let the air out of his tires. I don't think you did.
You know what's funny? In the parking lot of that gig, a black Cadillac pulled up and rolled down the window and looked over at me. This guy was Buddy Miles, and he said,
"No way!
I want to tell you, you've got it." And I'm like, "Can put me in touch with your manager? What can we do? You know what I mean? Hook me up." You know what I mean? Like, man, I don't need to. You've got it, kid. And he rolled his window up and drove away.
Oh, nice.
And I can't.
Awesome.
I didn't get a picture. I didn't get a picture. I don't have a witness. I don't have proof. But Buddy Miles told me I got it.
There you go. And
that was worth it then.
Exactly. See all that. And you know what? And sincerely, we're joking here, and so I don't want to turn this into a thing where, we threw a bunch of harp players under the bus. It was a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want people, man, Bart's a dick. It's a joke. It was a joke.
Well,
we love harp players. We do.
With Midline, we've opened up for countless national acts. Either, we used to be a Jägermeister sponsored band, and so we would jump on these little legs of these Jägermeister tours. And the last one we did was with Saliva and Breaking Benjamin. And
oh, cool. Those are good
we
bands.
played a handful of shows opening up for Motley Crue and Seven Dust and Godsmack and all these situations. A lot of times you're treated like the inconvenience of the day, like, we got to deal with this opening band or whatever. And a lot of times they treat you like you've never done this before, which, we've done countless times. And so getting any kind of respect walking in the door is very difficult. And, it's an easy opportunity to puff your chest up and say, hey, stop treating me this way. But it's a totally opposite effect that once they see you play and your way around the stage, and you understand the language that's being used and you understand what you're being told to do, that when you're done with the gig and you're leaving, they shake your hand or give you a hug because now they become your friend. So, every gig that you go into isn't necessarily bad because it may seem that way as you're going into, but later on when you're walking out the door, they appreciate you and go, oh, okay, these guys aren't green. They know what they're doing. And they can be nice.
On that note, and I we've been, SMB is same thing, Fred. We've opened up to, the who's who in the music business. And one time we were opening to Edgar Winter, and Chris Frazier, who is now the drummer for
Foreigner,
was the drummer. And this was a gig it was in Klamath River, California. It's a big Harley Davidson run. For years, we did bike runs all over the United States. And they hired Edgar Winter as the opening act. And we were direct support, and they were flying them in. And they had gotten the backline gear for them. And the backline gear was junk. I mean, literally, it was like, oh, we need a drum set for Edgar Winter's drummer. Oh, I got a drum set, dude. And they, I'll use this one. It won't cost you anything. Just borrow mine. And it was this old beat up kit with duct tape all over the heads that were, from the 1970s. And it was a joke.
Disco Tom.
Oh, dude, yeah. It was bad, and no bottom heads, and it was a CB700 kit. And at the time, this was back before I was with Gretsch. I used to endorse Peavey. I don't know if you remember the Peavey drums, the Radio Pro.
Yeah.
So I had a beautiful kit of Radio Pro drums, and they showed up. to play. Right? We were direct support. We get done with the set, and Chris Frazier's standing right behind me, and they had been traveling all day to get to this gig, and big long story there, but you could tell they were just exhausted. They wanted to play the gig and get out of there. And he goes, well, where's my kit? My DW kit, this and that. And I said, dude, I go, look, he said something negative about the PBs. I don't want to play those, dude. I go, you can just play my kit. He's like, I don't want to play those. I ordered my kit, my backline. It's a DW. I go, that's the kit they got you, bro. Right there. You can play that or you can play my kit. And he was like, thank you so much. And I said, I'm your drum tech. Let's rip this thing apart and put it together for you. He goes, okay, great. So we tore that thing down and put it back together for him. And so a few months later, we're in New Mexico, and we're opening to, this time, Eddie Muddy before he had passed away. Well, guess who's his drummer? Chris Frazier. Bro, thank you that night up in Oregon. You helped me. It was one of those things. So it can go both ways, because I've been in that situation, Fred, where they're treating you like, dude, just go to your puppet show so we can put on the real show. And and when you don't react, then by the end of the gig, you're cool. Well, fast forward to flip the coin a little bit there. And when you're the cool guy, helping somebody out, then that's a good thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a similar experience. He didn't use my whole kit, but
one of the other things I think.
Sorry, Chip, you started saying something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, so we've opened up for Skid Row a few times of different iterations of the band. One when it was still all the original members, and then later on with different singer and drummer and stuff. And one of those times was Phil Verone was playing, and he was flying in to the show. And we get there, and his drum tech is unboxing drums that were just shipped to the venue.
Oh my God.
And, I have this DW collector's kit that I play, and they go, oh, cool kit. And that's what we're unboxing is a DW collector's kit. And so I see them pull the shells out, and I'm like, that's a PDP kit. And it was a pretty low line PDP kit, and just spindly hardware, and I'm like, Phil Verone's gonna play that? That's like and then he showed up from the airport, and he's backstage trying to cobble together this rickety entry-level drum kit, and he was really not happy with the hi-hat stand. And I said, look, dude, you are more than welcome to use my pedals, my hi-hat stand, my snare, whatever you need to do this. And he's like, I just need a snare drum and I need a hi-hat stand, if that's okay if I use that tonight. And so he and I have been friends ever since that.
Nice.
And he remembers that moment,
Yep.
So yeah, it's even though they're the headliner, sometimes they're dealing with a bad gig situation too. And like you, Bart, like if you can help ease that frustration in some way. And Chip, I think you have a similar story too, going back to like a cruise ship or something that you mentioned.
Yeah, helping lend the other drummer my hi-hat stand saved his gig for him, and he was forever grateful, and he ended up helping me a lot during the NAMM show. But one of the things I think, not to change the subject, but making the best of a bad, difficult gig, one of the other things I think is helpful to do is to remember why you started playing in the first place, and to remind yourself that you have a drum set and you get to play drums.
Yeah.
That in itself is such a cool thing to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So be grateful that you're even there and you have a drum set and you have a gig.
Yeah, 100%.
Totally. 100%. Well, guys, we've gone over a little bit, and obviously with this particular subject matter, we could talk all day. So just getting into this, if you're a young drummer, or you're a seasoned veteran, or you're somebody that's just, you've been playing for a while and you're trying to get things going, you're going to have the bad gigs. And like Fred just said, the pros come in, and it's like, the stories that we all have, like, here, use my drums. You don't want to play that one. Here's my hi-hat. Here's my snare, whatever. Help each other out. That's what Deck is about, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's what Deck is about. We get to a gig and Fred's there and he's like, hey, man, can I borrow your snare drum? I'm like, I didn't get my hat, so you're hosed. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, sure, Fred. Here's my snare drum. Thanks for the hat I didn't get. That's what I'm going to do. No, we're all helping each other out. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for making it to 170 episodes, man. This is amazing. And whenever we have a little milestone like that, I always say the same thing to Chip. I always say, thanks for calling me, dude. This is
man.
Tremendous. Thanks. This worked out
Thanks
great.
for being there. This is awesome.
This is
and
awesome.
Thank you, Fred, for helping us do the show today.
Yeah,
Fred
man.
Rock Fisher. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I've got to hit the button and play us out. So I'm going to go like this. And now I can't really hit the button because my